Welcome to my town centre garden in southern England. This is a series concentrating on the birds that visit me here. Some birds just do not hang around long enough to capture on video. This wood warbler is not a common sight for me here, and I was only able to capture a couple of photos this time. A grey squirrel surprises me one morning. Not indigenous to England, but a much enjoyed furry friend from across the sea. This fellow probably came all the way along the garden fences from the church, passing numerous pet cats and dogs to reach the food. Snails are not always welcome in my garden, but sometimes they do create quite the show. The squirrel doesn't even know the snails are there right now. The snails eventually go their separate ways. I enjoy watching their tails curl up and wonder if their tails are more sensitive than their big feet. I had to speed them up as this was taking a bit too long. The squirrel is being cautious and becomes alert to something, but is soon back to munching. It quietly rests in the tree while it assesses any dangers nearby and figures out its next move. We've got a magpie who has been making a real fuss at the top of this tree. And last year, maybe the year before, we had 2 babies come out of that tree. It may be the presence of the magpies that helps the squirrel in its decision to leave. The female magpie preens while resting in the sun. She has worked hard all day designing her nest in the mountain ash tree she sits in here. She still has some work to do, and even as the sun lowers in the sky, she continues building her nest. She makes short, quiet sounds like a bark when she approaches the nest area, which I think is her communicating with whoever is in there. It seems impossible that this clattering and busy corvid could ever sit still and quiet like this. I realised, though, that these birds are incredibly good at stealth and will glide into positions silently. I have seen them doing it, entering and leaving the nest area. It shows that the sounds that they make, and do not make, are very strategic and hold a lot of meanings. The evening singers are late to arrive. Many birds sound off in the evenings, and I usually hear at least one of them singing loudly near the house. Tonight it is the turn of the robin. If you listen carefully, you can hear another distant robin's reply. The planet Jupiter passes by, reminding us all that we're living on a spaceship. The magpies are in their nest and trying to settle, but a blackbird is snooping around. A great tit calls loudly, while a blackbird impersonates a police siren. The sounds of the evening birds are always interesting as the roar of the town dies down. One last robin song for the evening. Is this robin roosting nearby tonight? These clips were recorded on the day leading up to the Super Flower Blood Moon of 2022. On this night, the Earth blocks the light from the sun reaching the moon. But the light reflecting from Earth casts a glow onto the darkened moon, which can make it appear red, orange or yellow when it is low in the sky, instead of the familiar and ghostly grey and white. The moon is also at its closest point to the Earth, making it appear much bigger in the sky. These are my photos of the Super Flower Blood Moon of 2022. The blackbird looks around cautiously as something is happening this morning. The magpie is hanging around and has been making a lot of noise. He watches out for the magpie while a robin cries, "See, see," from the bushes. This means an aerial predator is nearby. The blackbird spots the magpie and launches an attack. The magpie is upsetting the blackbird, and the blackbird flew right at the magpie. I can't really get it on camera. Blackbird has gone into the tree there. It's really upset. It's really creating. I think the magpies found out where the
nest is. They've been battling. There's the blackbird again.
The magpie strikes back.
Are you up to? And then comes the magpie again, going back towards the nest of the. Oh, gosh! There's a fight going on here. There goes the magpie again. Over the roofs and away. Okay, maybe it's over now.
After things settle down, a female blackbird gets a drink. You can hear emergency vehicles very often from this spot, so it is no surprise her husband mimics sirens. I suspect these blackbirds are nesting in the honeysuckle to the left of this view, and so patrol this area very carefully. A dunnock sits on the feeder while a baby robin hangs around on the wall, unsure of how to proceed. The juvenile robin finds tasty morsels on the wall and watches the dunnock with great interest. The juvenile robin is observing everything, and seeing the dunnock snap up a tiny insect, sidles up to see if there's any free grub. The dunnock is too busy searching for yummies to notice that he's being followed. The old brick wall is a haven for beetles, insects and spiders, and can provide quite the buffet for smaller birds. The female dunnock appears, waggling her tail in an attempt to seduce her husband. But he is too busy munching anything that crawls along the wall to notice her. The baby robin is making the peep peep sounds in the background. The dunnock female trails after her husband along the wall to the feeder, where they depart together. R2-D2, the blackbird male, cautiously takes a drink. But can he take a bath too? The magpies say no, and R2-D2 has to protect his nest again, having already done that this morning before I got up. He's very alert, and he paces back and forth along the fence in agitation. When he gets too close, the magpies let him know by lunging at him. The magpie is just hopping around in the branches just off camera. At this point, I don't see Mrs. Blackbird anywhere. R2-D2 takes a break. The blackbird is exhausted and begins panting while he stands guard on the roof. I nicknamed this blackbird R2-D2 because of a sound he makes, but I should call him police siren because he mimics that so often. He keeps a watchful eye on the area and he's a little jumpy. He skitters across the flat roof to get a better look at his surroundings. He is expecting another onslaught and he's ready to fight back. The blackbird becomes hyper-vigilant to something. And as that black shadow suggests, the magpie has not left the area. R2-D2 flies directly at the magpie's head. The female magpie makes a squeaking sound while the blackbird screams at her to leave. But she takes a quick drink and then flies right at him. While R2-D2 rests, now at a distance, she squeaks quietly as she creeps along the fence. She grabs her favourite mealworms and has a break somewhere quiet. R2-D2 is back for a much needed drink after all that action. A relaxing bath is just what is needed after so much drama. When birds bathe in water, it is often to clean themselves, but sometimes it is because they need to cool down. Mrs. Blackbird is also taking a quick drink. Their patrol goes on for several hours, and the magpie returns to her tree and repeatedly returns to her horrifying interest in their nest. The birds need to take every opportunity that they can to restore their energy. They find somewhere safe to perch and just rest. There goes Jupiter again, wishing the birds a peaceful night. The following day, the weather becomes even more changeable and the wind suddenly becomes fierce. It's a noisy day in the town and the wind makes it more dangerous for prey and gives great opportunities to the predators. When the wind dies down for a spell, you can really hear the difference. The magpie has dropped some food in the water and is now fishing it out along with any floating insects. He begins a noisy patrol in the garden and lets himself be known to whomever dares to invade his territory. He has spotted a threat and shows his aggression by knocking on things with his beak. When he sees an opening, he will fly directly at the threat. know now that when they patrol with noise and object bashing, it is usually because they have spotted the neighbour's cat, and now the cat is having another hard time getting home. The cats often freeze on the spot, eyeing the large noisy birds with paranoia, and it can take a very long time for them to feel brave enough to move. It's no surprise, these magpies are very good at making others feel unwelcome. Their intimidation is impressive, and it gets everyone's attention. Note the absence of any other bird song right now. I always feel sorry for the cat on the receiving end of this treatment. They always look very sorry for themselves. I should really take a look at the bushes and trees at the end of my garden to see if the birds are doing their own gardening. It only just struck me while I was making this video how similar the little blue-tit call is to the clatter of the magpie call. And they are clearly not that bothered about the presence of the magpie. I noticed that after some time, the magpie will land noisily on the feeder and show their defiance by pretend eating. Then they grab a mouthful and fly off to eat it in peace. The threat must have left, and the magpie has finished patrolling for now. The evening settles briefly into a night of calm, then brisk wind, then back to calm, so the night is not so peaceful for the tree dwellers. I wonder how the magpie nest is coming along, and whether I might see some new baby magpies in my garden. I feel very lucky to have a window onto all of this life, however tiny my garden may be. I witnessed the vigilance of parent birds protecting their nests, and the enormous amounts of energy it takes to fight off attackers in the exhaustion of the panting blackbird. I look forward to finding out what's going to happen tomorrow.